Hello, I'm Angie Miller from Ryan Miller & Coburn Trial Attorneys. Because of my background with a biology degree, I bring in expertise when it comes to cases of medical malpractice and personal injury. You don't want to fight the insurance companies yourself. Let Ryan Miller & Coburn help you earn the justice you deserve.
You can call Ryan Miller & Coburn anytime, 542-2233, or visit rmcattorneys.com. Ryan Miller & Coburn, your Montana attorneys. We said breakdown. We forgot to check in with, I didn't forget, but I just got too caught up last week. But now we actually have a Griz game to talk about. But there's been a ton of other games that have already occurred over these first 3 weeks of the season. Samuel Akem joining us here on the Big Sky Breakdown. What's up, man? First of all, thanks for being here. You've watched games from week 0. I know you came over week 0 to my spot, and you've been watching games the last 3 weeks. We'll get to the Griz. We'll get to the Cats here in just a little while, but who has been a team or a couple teams that have impressed you so far right out the gates? Because you've been watching a lot of FCS.
Are we keeping it with Big Sky, or are we talking across the landscape?
I think anybody. I mean, I think that there probably is some crossover with Big Sky and Best You've Seen, but also, I mean, Tarleton State's been good, North Dakota State's been good. Who's impressed you?
Man, UC Davis offensively, they've impressed me in terms of losing talent, but still being able to retool up. Like Jordan Fisher is a really good running back. He's going to have a really good year. Samuel Batu, obviously the top returning receiver in the conference. Caden Pinnick, I know a lot of people didn't know what to expect. The freshman starting quarterback. I've really, really liked what I've seen from them. Would have loved to have seen that Mercer game play out, but I think what the beauty of having a couple weeks after that game is now, you've seen what Mercer looks like. So, I mean, if UC Davis had lost that game, that would have been a discussion. But also, I mean, I think that also bears watching as UC Davis is on a bye this week, but we'll get to see them again next week. We saw them against UW, so I've liked UC Davis, but I would like to see them against some more consistent competition. Another team I have enjoyed was Idaho. I mean, Idaho was very, very close to beating Washington State. I believe they should have beat them. Washington State played really good defense. Any Jimmy Rogers coach team, you can expect them to play a high level of defense. But Josh Wood was the question mark for me. Week 1, 100 rushing yards, 33 passing yards. I was like, he played well enough, but if he probably would have had 100, 150 passing yards, they'd probably win that game. Sure. Take it against St. Thomas, not necessarily a ranked team, but one of the upper tier Pioneer League teams. Josh Wood went crazy. 80% completion percentage, 281 passing yards, 87 rushing yards, the game-winning rushing touchdown. I mean, I've really, really enjoyed what I've seen from Josh Wood in week 2. So those are the couple teams I've been looking at throughout the Big Sky Conference, and obviously Montana State are the staples. So obviously been watching them very closely.
Josh Wood joined us here on Vandals Weekly on the Big Sky Breakdown podcast series 2 weeks ago, and you can see why he rose to become captain as a transfer, as a sophomore. He's not just a good player. Like he was just a cool dude, man. Like you could just tell, like he's just a likable guy that was super smooth and very engaging and a lot of confidence. So not surprised that he's sort of risen up there. I know that they really like him. I have some buddies in the athletic department, and they've been around for the last couple of years, and Idaho's had some good quarterbacks. The last
yes, they have
even 10 years. I mean, Matt Linehan, the last guy that they had during their FBS days, and Mason Petrino was sort of the outlier because he was just different. I mean, he was just he's just like a little scat back quarterback that was just rolling out and stuff like that. And there was the whole regardless. But I thought Jack Lane was good last year. Giovanni McCoy, they're very good, and they all say that Josh Wood's the best dude that they've had in the last 10 years. So that's pretty impressive. He definitely looks the part. How about outside the Big Sky? Is there anybody else that's really caught your eye?
Man, this might come as a surprise. And they're not playoff eligible, but they've got all the facilities, they've got all the jerseys. They're down there in the South. I believe they're part of the Southland Conference. University of Texas Rio Grande Valley is a team that I'm interested in seeing how they pan out. And then probably the conference that I've probably been watching closely the most is that United Athletic Conference. I think it was a conference that was kind of piecemeal together with some teams from here, some teams from there. Some of the Southland came over, OVC teams, and they got a conference now. And I mean, man, they've been playing good football. West Georgia, obviously Tarleton is in that conference. Abilene Christian is a part of that conference. They had 3 playoff teams in 2024. So the UAC is definitely a conference that a lot of eyes are going to be on as the season wanes on. And I'll be interested to see what they do.
That's one thing that I think has been really interesting in terms of the evolution of the FCS, especially in the quote unquote West. There's hardly any schools out West anymore that are playing Division I football.
Yep.
Just because like the West Coast schools are playing in the Big Ten now. So even though they're on the West Coast, most of the time they're going to, Minnesota and Ohio to play games unless they're playing each other. When I'm talking about Oregon and USC and all
Yep.
those. But there has been a little bit of influx in the FCS in the West when you talk about the Southwest in Texas. And to me, it's not a surprise that you've had these teams that have said, okay, let's invest. Let's invest in D1 football. Let's invest in
Sam Houston State.
being good, right? And for the Sam Houstons that have left and the Texas States that have left the FCS, they've been replaced in short order with Tarleton State, Abilene Christian. You're talking about Rio Grande Valley, like these are all Incarnate Word.
Incarnate, yep.
They all have only been doing this for less than 15 years, and they all have become very competitive right away. You're from Oklahoma, you know about Texas football. It's not a surprise to me that those guys have been able to like figure it out.
It's religion,
right? Exactly. That was Incarnate. I remember when Eric Forrest was at Incarnate Word, and I remember talking to him. I said, "Hey, what's the plan for your building your program?" He said, "Hey, I'm gonna go get one of these 35 Division I quarterbacks that are here in the state of Texas. We just got to get one. We got to talk one guy into coming here instead of going to SMU or Rice or some of the second tier Texas schools." And they did that, and they were lights out right away, and they've continued to build it. So I mean, no surprise that a lot of these teams that are sort of on the rise are from that part of the world.
Yep. I mean, just think about how many schools are in Texas.
Right.
Tons in the FBS, tons in the FCS, but then you take it down to the lower levels. There are a ton of schools in Texas everywhere.
Totally. I remember when I was covering Central Washington, I watched them on the road against Texas A&M Kingsville, and at that exact moment, like Texas A&M Kingsville had pretty comparable facilities, at least internally, to Montana. I mean,
Yeah.
that was before the Champion Center and all that, but like their weight room was nicer, like the locker room was nicer. The stadium wasn't as nice, but like their internal facilities were nice. And so there's another one. They're another one to watch. I won't be surprised if they move up soon too, but no surprise there. I love the thought on UC Davis because I've been impressed with their offense too. I think it's also I think you have to remember because I've heard from some people that UC Davis should be on fraud alert because they came down the wire 2 weeks ago. They didn't get to finish the game against Mercer. They came down the wire 2 weeks ago, and then they got destroyed last week, 70-10 at Washington. But I have been reminding people, UC Davis, they I'm not gonna say started slow last year because I mean they won 10 games in a row after losing to Cal.
They played a tight game against Southern Utah.
Exactly. They weren't blowing teams out right away. They were not blowing teams out. I just wonder if that's sort of part of the deal with Tim Plow. Because I think his offense gets more complicated as the season goes along.
Oh, yeah.
And I think they lock in on defense quite a bit too. So I still believe in Davis. I think Davis is still a Big Sky contender. Do you?
I do. And one thing you need to remember as well, Colter, and not you specifically, but the people watching.
Yeah.
Caden Pinnock is a redshirt freshman.
Right.
He has never started a football game. He doesn't have a ton of experience on the field. So he's learning on the job right now. So he's going to get better. I think that Utah Tech and first off, Utah Tech is in the UAC, a conference that is up and coming. I don't think it was a bad UC Davis. I just think we are seeing Utah Tech finally start to get acclimated to the FCS division. Now, obviously, they're still one of the lower tier teams in the subdivision, but I think we're not seeing the Utah Tech that people used to just trample over and beat by 50. I think it's a team that can compete better. They're still going to lose, but I was impressed with that Utah Tech game because they did get down big, and they did come back big. That is a ton of experience for Caden Pinnock. The rest of that roster, I mean, I thought that was a great way for them to come out of that game and win that game because just think about, obviously, it was an ugly win, but it was a win. Think about what the conversation would have been had they lost that game.
Yeah.
Completely different conversation.
No question. I was thinking about this morning, too. I also think that people's views of the way that quarterbacks acclimate and are quote-unquote ready to go got really skewed because you had this group of quarterbacks that were, one, really talented in Mark Gronowski, Cam Miller, and Tommy Millott, but also that got a whole extra offseason to prepare. And so then those guys were starting when they were freshmen, but they had a whole year where football got canceled and they got to go through an extra fall camp, an extra spring ball. I mean, you were playing for Montana when it was like the super fall ball. How many practices?
Yeah.
Like 15 or 16 practices. Like
I think it was close to 20. It was a whole fall, man.
I mean, that's a lot of extra reps for guys, and they can kind of get comfortable with the the ins and outs of stuff, and more than anything, the leadership part, right? Like they can get on the same page. And so it's funny because I've heard the sort of wavering opinions on Caden Pinnock. I've heard the sort of wavering opinions on Kale Ayat. And I think people are comparing those two guys and some of the other upstart quarterbacks in the conference and around the country to this trio of guys that were all lights out great when they were freshmen. But I just think that there's a caveat that comes with it. And
I will say, I think Ayat's in a different boat than Pinnock. I wouldn't put them on the same playing field.
Totally, but Ayat, the start Saturday was only his 7th.
Wow.
How many starts do you think a guy needs to have before he like truly settles in?
Oh, gosh, Colter. I'd say at least half a season worth of starts. So 5, 6, 7 starts around there is where I would expect a player to start acclimating to the level of play, acclimating to the speed, start to understand the game better. I mean, I think 5, 6, 7 starts around there is a good number.
And if a guy's a little older, it seems like that number might be a little less, right?
Yeah.
Like Cam Humphrey, when you were a senior, he settled in pretty early because he'd just been around college football for so long.
Been around. Yeah, he was behind Dalton for 2 years.
Right.
Fought Dalton for that spot that first year, didn't get it, and then he ended up being the backup for the next 2 years. And then when he's ready to step in, he's played a bunch because Dalton went down at times. Like he had the experience.
Yeah, and he'd started games like he started that Portland State game when Snead got hurt, and I think that certainly makes a difference. Samuel Kim here on the Big Sky Breakdown podcast series, proudly presented in part by Cash One Pawn. Cash One Pawn, the premier pawn shop in Western Montana. Make Cash One Pawn part of your shopping habits. Cash One Pawn. That's cash the number one pawn.com. All right. What do you think of Ayat then on Saturday against Central Washington?
Oh man, if you listen, I know you listened to the pregame show. I don't know if anybody else was listening, but one thing I said I wanted to see from Ayat was his completion percentage be in between 65 and 70%. He was at 58%, and that's where he's been at for his career, is 59% completion, or at least last season he was at 59% completion percentage. I don't know where his career is at, but I'm sure it's probably somewhere around there. I think he was good, not great. He did enough. He missed a lot. He missed one too many throws for my liking. But I don't think he looked necessarily terrible. The interception on the 1-2 was bad. It was a little bit behind. The other, I mean, both interceptions weren't great. He missed them on the pop pass, the linebacker safety shifting over. He just didn't see him. And then the second interception was a bad pass that got tipped up and intercepted by the defense. So both interceptions weren't great, but he was 14 for 24, 250 yards, 2 touchdowns. But it was Central Washington. Last year, they struggled against this North Dakota State and this North Dakota team. And I'll be interested to see. But I think for this team to be where they want to be, Ayat has to be more consistent completion percentage wise. Like he has to be more accurate. And that's really what I want to see from him. And I would really love if they used his legs more. 5 carries, -4 yards. I think most of those are sacks. I think he did scramble a little bit. But he is a running quarterback. He played in the triple option, veer option, whatever you want to call it, scheme in high school. That is what he does. Last year, 7 touchdowns, 7 rushing touchdowns. The same amount of rushing touchdowns as he did passing touchdowns. This is clearly, he set the record for quarterbacks. 4 touchdowns in a game against, what was that, Western Carolina? I mean, that is what he does. Use that part of his game, use his legs, and let him influence the offense that way, is what I think.
I think that's right. I will say I will give him a little bit of grace on the pop pass that got picked in the end zone because I just think that was a bad play call. You got 2nd and goal from the 4. I just think that you run that ball. I mean, you got Gilman and Rocker for a reason, man. Like I just feel
got a little too cute.
Yeah, like just go too tight and just run it, or run
also
and let him.
Why are you running that play against Central Washington?
That's right. That's also. I will say this too. That I thought Central Washington was good. Like I thought they had some talent.
They did.
I think that we're going to see. There's been so much made of the stratification of college football, and I saw it live and in person 2 weeks ago in Eugene, watching Montana State at Oregon. The 2nd and 3rd teams now for the Ducks are just, I mean, it's crazy, man. They're all 5-star recruits. They're all getting paid. It's nuts. So I think you see it trickle uphill. You've seen it trickle uphill to the top of the FCS too. But I think outside the top tier of the FBS and then outside of the top tier of the FCS, there's a lot more fluidity than people give credit for. Like what I'm getting at is like, I would love if Central Washington and Eastern Washington played this year. Because I think that
You know what you're talking about? You know what you're talking about right now? Northern Colorado almost beat Colorado State.
Exactly. Exactly.
That's what you're talking about.
Exactly, man. Like I would love to see Central Washington and Eastern Washington play because I think that'd be a good game. Like Central Washington and Portland State, that'd probably be a good game. Like I think that although there's a lot of criticisms to be had for the mistakes you make against a D2 team, I also think though that the fans that are watching that game need to understand that Central Washington as a very good D2 team is probably as good as the bottom third of the Big Sky Conference, man. Like I think that it would be good games between them and Cal Poly, them in Northern Colorado, them in Eastern Washington, them in Portland State. I think all those would be good games.
Yes, I agree. I agree. And that Northern Colorado game isn't a direct example of what you're talking about, but yes, I would love to see that. Like, why don't Idaho and Washington State play every year?
Right. I mean,
It's a 10-minute, 15, 20-minute drive down the road.
yeah, I mean, talk about easiest budgeting ever, right? I mean, you literally just drive 10 miles and then you can go stay at your own house still.
And it's a rival. It should be a rivalry. It should be like the whatever highway it is. Make it that highway name or whatever. Like they should play every year.
I just think that Washington State doesn't want to do that because they're scared.
Yeah. Basically what it comes down to.
Just like when Idaho was up and they stopped playing Montana because Montana beat them like 5 out of 7 times, and they were like, we can't keep scheduling a FCS team and losing, like pay to beat us. That's not how it works. So, yeah,
What did you think about Northern Colorado?
I think that Ed Lamb is a really good coach that's going to have his guys going. I don't know how much you can make out of any of these early season games in terms of extrapolating them beyond what that is, but I do think that if you are Ed Lamb and you're trying to build that thing in a different way than what's been done there the last 10 years, and that, I mean, McCaffrey didn't have any ambition to recruit any high school kids except for from Valor Christian where he used to coach. Other than that, he was just getting FBS guys and all the dudes that knew his sons, and that was it. And so they actually had talent, but they never practiced. I mean, he was skipping practice on a regular basis. It was a complete disaster. But I think that Ed Lamb comes in and says, we're not doing that anymore. We're going to build it from the high school ranks. That takes a while. But I think going to Fort Collins and having a good effort, I think that makes your guys believe in what you're teaching them a little bit more, right? You didn't win, but you didn't get embarrassed, and you only lost 21-17. You played really well. I mean, Brent Vigen said it in his press conference. He had just got done watching Colorado State, Northern Colorado, for whatever reason right before his press conference, and he slipped up and said Northern Colorado instead of whatever other team he's talking about. Just for a brief minute, he corrected himself. But then at the end of the press conference, he said, sorry I had that slip up about Northern Colorado. I had just watched Northern Colorado against Colorado State, and he's like, let me tell you right now, Northern Colorado is way better than what they were a year ago. So I don't know. I think they're improved. I don't know what that means. Like I don't know if that means they can make noise in the Big Sky or not. But
right.
I'll say this: having one or more teams in the league that can't beat anybody or can only beat each other is a bad thing for the league.
Yep.
You need the bottom teams to at least, like, if you play bad on a bad day, you need that team to be able to beat you. Like that's how it was forever. There's always going to be the best teams and then the not best teams and the bottom teams. But the bottom team needs to be able to be competitive against the mid and top teams when it's just, I mean, like Cal Poly for a couple years, like when they would play the Cats, it was like, what are we even doing, man? Montana State's going to set the all-time rushing record. They're going to score 70 points. You know, like when the Cats won down there in 2022, and Vigen was trying to call off the Dogs, and they literally couldn't because Cal Poly couldn't tackle. And he's playing a fourth string receiver at running back, and this kid rushes for 250 yards because Cal Poly can't tackle, and the Cats points. Like that was brutal, man. Like Vigen after the game had to apologize. He said, "I'm not trying to run up the score. I'm not trying to score 72, but at some point, like the other team needs to offer some resistance." My point being that I think that those teams are better this year, and I think that's way better for the league because 72-3 or whatever that game was, that's just stupid. That's not in the spirit of competition.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, man. I mean, man, the bottom of the league, if they can get better, that'll be better for everybody.
Yes.
Yo, Tara, what up, E?
What's going on? Man, those are some nice medals.
Yeah, man, these are hard to come by.
Yeah, well, I've got 2 of them.
Well, that's nothing like going to March Madness, though.
We did go to a national championship.
Okay, guys, whatever. Let's just get on the Montana party bus and head over to Press Box for lunch.
Yeah.
Nuanez now and Skyline Sports, covering Montana athletics and the Big Sky Conference better than anybody. The Montana Party Bus and the Press Box are also proud supporters of Montana athletes.
Hey, cheers to you guys, man. Cheers to Montana. Cheers to chasing more champions.
All right. You were texting me about Michael Wortham. What impressed you about him the most, and what do you think his potential is for the Griz offense and just the Griz in general because they're going to use him all sorts of ways.
This guy, man. This guy needs to touch the ball. The same thing we say about Eli. Still didn't get 20 carries on Saturday, but he didn't really need it. He had 198, 3 touchdowns, so it's fine. But Michael Wortham should touch the ball just as many times. You know, the way they did it on Saturday, the first 2 receptions of the game went to Michael Wortham. And then the next run was a 54-yard touchdown run to Eli Gilman. I mean, that is how your offense should be. Obviously, they got the Bohannons, they got the Davises. I think it's going to take Brooks Davis a minute to really get used to what's going on out there. He's a freshman, you know, starter, all that stuff. It's going to take him a minute. Bohannon's been around the block, but he hasn't been extremely productive in college. Michael Wortham's that guy. All-American, can play every position, can play running back, can play quarterback, can play receiver, punt, kick returner. I mean, however many times and however many ways you can get Michael Wortham the ball, you need to do that because I think he's extremely explosive. His speed, it's impossible not to see how fast he is. His speed is incredible. He is one of the best players on that squad. I'd put Eli, and then I'd say Michael Wortham is the second best player on the Griz this year. He needs to touch the ball often, early and often, every game.
It's been a little while since the Griz decided they were going to feed their primary playmakers. It's been basically since you played, right?
Yep.
That departure has been so weird. I don't really know why they did that because to me in college football, the essence of offense, if you have superior talent, is to isolate that superior talent and have them just dominate the guys across from them. Yep. And Bobby Helk was very much into doing that, especially like when he first came back, 2018, 2019, and even a little bit into 2021, but particularly when Dalton Snead was the quarterback.
Yep.
You guys,
19 was the biggest year.
I mean, you guys were lighting it. You guys were scoring 40 plus most of the time, right? And you know, you were getting yours. Samari Torrey was getting his. Marcus Knight scored, 25 touchdowns or whatever.
Jerry
Lou McGee was getting his. But it was like the headliners are the guys that are leading the way. We're riding the headliners, right? And then for whatever reason, they kind of went away from that. And last couple of years has been so much about like socialism. It's been like let's spread it all around, right? But they would never like isolate Junior Bergen. They hardly ever isolated Cole Grossman when he was healthy. Keelan White was like their steady Eddie guy, but they didn't really have go-to plays with him. Gilman's only had 19 carries in a game 3 times in his whole career. That's crazy. So I don't know. I get Bobby Houck would tell you that it's because he wants his guys to be the best they can be in December. And I would say I agree with that, but I also think you got to get to December, right? Like you got to win. You got to win the games you need to win to get to December and then hope everybody's fresh. So I don't know. What I saw on Saturday was the emergence of a couple guys as elite offensive players. I think Montana would be foolish if they don't continue to just feed those guys. And I'm talking about the exact same guys you're talking about.
Yep.
Eli Gilman, Michael Wortham. Feed those guys the ball all day. I think those two should make up half of your offensive touches.
If not more, but yes, at least half.
I mean, what do you think? Like, what's a realistic, if you're counting punt and kick returns for Wortham? I guess Drew Deck's the punt returner, but kick returns, and then all the other ways you can use Michael Wortham. What would your over-under be for like how many touches per game he should get?
It's got to be around 20. I think over-under is 20. Right? Over 20 is what I think he needs each game.
Yeah, right? Because, I mean, he's going to field, let's say the Griz defense is really good. So he's going to field like 3 to 4 kicks a game, right? Two natural ones, and then maybe the Griz give up a couple touchdowns and a field goal or whatever. So he's going to field 3 to 4 kicks a game. And I think you got to give him 8 catches. So now we're talking, there's 12 touches. You probably got to give him, I'd probably give him 5 snaps in the Wildcat at least. So yeah, I mean, I'm right there with you, man. I think high teens, low 20s is where he needs to be.
Yep. And now the thing that's going to make everybody hesitate and pause is Michael did get banged up in that game against Central Washington.
Yeah.
So that's obviously the worry with giving him all those touches. I think it was more so cramping and just like tightness than it was anything serious.
Sure.
But that is the worry. So, if we're on this side saying they need to use him, well, Houck is on the other side saying, well, look at what happened on Saturday against Central Washington. Not even a great physically outstanding team, and he got beat up in that game. Who's to say we're supposed to give him 20, 25 carries a game against Montana State, UC Davis, guys who have real big hitters and guys who can freaking make you pay.
Touch on that part though. You played a lot of football. Do you think it actually is you get hurt more the better the competition? Because I think you get hurt all the time when you play football. Like I don't think it matters if you're playing Central Washington or Washington. I think you have a chance to get hurt, right?
There's an 100% injury risk when you play football. At some point when you're playing this game, you're going to get hurt.
I mean,
I don't think it matters who's across from you.
Like the worst concussion I ever got was against Butte High School, and they were defeated. They did not win a game, but they have dudes. Like everybody has dudes, though. That's the thing that people don't understand, man. Like the great teams have 60 dudes. That's what makes you great. But even the worst teams have dudes, man. Like look at Cal Poly and how bad they were the last 2 years. Who was the biggest dude in the Big Sky? Elijah Ponder, man. He's still he's still playing for the New England Patriots. So he made the active roster on a defense that couldn't stop anybody. So I guess my point is everybody has dudes. I thought
everybody has guys.
I thought Central had some dudes for sure.
They're running back, they're quarterbacks. He's short, but he's a good player. Defensively, nobody really stood out to me, but the running back Bo Phillips really stood out to me.
Yeah, me too. And I thought the Griz made it hard on him, but I thought he's talented. Like if I was Mike Farrader, I'd be sitting there thinking like I don't want anybody else in the Big Sky to watch this film because that guy's going to get an offer or two. Like he could definitely go play at Weber or something like that.
Eastern.
Exactly, man. He totally could. Sure. Samuel Akem here on the Big Sky Breakdown podcast series, proudly presented in part by Town Pump. Town Pump's keeping us fueled up. They got me to and from Eugene, to and from Bobcat Stadium. I've had a lot of travel these first couple weekends, but I'll be riding shotgun in Missoula for the foreseeable future with the Griz having 8 home games coming up. So very much looking forward to that, mostly just because I want to be home and hanging out with my family after games. Yeah. But it's been fun. Thanks to Town Pump for keeping us fueled up all football season long. So any last thoughts on the Griz before we get to the Montana State, South Dakota State game?
The tackling reared its ugly head a little bit on Saturday, the tackling issues from 2024. But there is a lot of talent on that defense. And I think the back end of that defense is really good. I think where that defense is going to have to improve is the front seven. Like I like the linebacking core, Peyton Wing, Elijah Tolbert, all the guys at linebacker, I like them, Tui Lapupu. But they have to play as a unit and they need to be able to stop the run. At times, Central Washington was gashing them in the run a little bit. There's a majority of the teams are going to be able to run the ball in the Big Sky better than Central Washington. So that is definitely something, and most definitely North Dakota is going to be able to run the ball better than.
Join Town Pump's Pump It Up Rewards Plus program and never pay full price for fuel again.
Save 5 cents on every gallon every day at any Town Pump across Montana.
Plus, earn and redeem points on your favorite in-store items to get free stuff with our clubs.
Stop in and pick up a rewards card. Download the Pump It Up Rewards Plus app today.
Or visit townpump.com/rewards to register and start saving.
Town Pump. Right down the road. Pump it up. Oh, yeah.
Will you marry me in your future? Or maybe you do it all over again. Hi, I'm Brian Toon with Jewelry Design Center, inviting you to come see the largest selection of Will You Marry Me in the state of Montana. The brightest diamonds of every shape and size, unique settings built to last, and skilled jewelers on site offering free sizing and maintenance for life, because that's how long we want to be your jeweler. Jewelry Design Center in Missoula, on Brooks, across from the Montana Club.
Bobby Houck told his quarterback club week 1 when the Griz were off that he was worried about the tackling because he said they'd gone a little bit lighter during the offseason than they usually have.
Mm-hmm.
So that's like a preordained excuse, I guess, but also coach knows that, because I don't think he would say that if not for otherwise. So maybe it wasn't that big of a surprise they didn't tackle well in the first half. I expect their tackling to be much better this week. Like I bet you if you went and watched them practice, they're doing a lot of pursuit drill and a lot of tackling drills these next couple days.
Oh, yeah.
All right, Montana State, South Dakota State. What do you take out of this game?
Sloppy, which is kind of surprising from South Dakota State's standpoint because they were sloppy against Sac State. So you would expect them to be a little bit cleaner when they face off against a top-ranked opponent in the Big Sky Conference. But sloppy ball. I think Lamson is getting way too many carries, man. 20 carries and he's getting banged around. That's too much.
Yeah, and I wonder so much of how much of that is the reshuffling of the offensive line. Like Burke Mastel being out at center has
Yeah.
caused them to reorganize the whole thing. And like Vegan said on Saturday night, he said they definitely don't want Lamson to have 20 carries at all, and that a lot of these are not design runs. I can't remember what he said the
Yeah.
percentage was, but I think a lot of it's broken plays. I think a lot of it is it's not just on the offensive line though, too. I think the other thing to remember is like what South Dakota State runs defensively
Yeah.
is the whole thing is to sell out to make sure you throw for as few yards as possible. Like that's what they do. Like they have led the country in passing yard per game allowed forever. I mean, this is the John Stiegelmeier defense into the Jimmy Rogers defense into the Dan Jackson defense. That's what it is. They're up in your grill. It's hard to get the ball off. And when you have a pass rush like that, it goes hand in hand. So
Yeah.
I think we're going to see. I feel bad for San Diego on Saturday, honestly, because I think you're going to see a Cat team that's like, man, we haven't lost 2 in a row in 9 years. They're going to take it out big time against San Diego and Mercyhurst and some of these other teams where they're just overmatched. Because the Cats were overmatched in Eugene and then an even match in Bozeman. But I think the Cats have looked up and down offensively. I think they've looked really good defensively, honestly.
Yeah.
But I think they've looked up and down offensively, but I think you're going to see bombs over Baghdad in Bozeman on Saturday, man. I think Adam Jones and Julius Davis haven't done anything yet. And I don't think that has much to do with anything besides they're playing 2 elite defenses. I think those guys are going to go crazy on Saturday. And I also think they'll scale back the hits on Lamson quite a bit just because they'll have more even competition.
Yeah. Another thing I'd like to see with the offense is I think Taco Dowler had 5 touches in the game against South Dakota State.
Yep.
He needs at least 10. And maybe 10 targets or 5 targets, 5 handle, whatever it is. I think he needs to see the ball more than 5 times in a game. He's an incredible weapon for the Bobcats. He's incredibly effective. I think he needs to be utilized more in that offense. And I know they have the plays in there for him. Give him the ball, let him see the ball a little bit more. You might see a little bit different outcome. Because one thing I was noticing in that South Dakota State game was that like the inside run game, running in between the tackles was a little bit difficult. They got a big front 7 at South Dakota State. They still rushed for 200 rushing yards, which is really, really good. But I think at times when it got tight, like late in the game in OT, it was hard for them to get downhill. Even on their first OT possession, it was a little difficult for them to run the ball. They ended up doing it. But that's what I would like to see is for Dowler to touch the ball some more.
Thanks so much for listening to the Big Sky Breakdown podcast series and for tuning into our Skyline Sports YouTube channel. If you haven't already subscribed, please subscribe to both the podcast and all your various podcast hosted networks and to the YouTube channel as well. Thanks to our great partners, including Ryan Miller and Coburn Law. Ryan Miller and Coburn are ace attorneys, each with different expertise. Paul Ryan, the master when it comes to DUIs. Angie Miller, excellent in medical malpractice. Abigail Coburn, federal drug charges. She's the one you want defending you. They can help in any and all sorts of criminal defense cases. They have a live answering service that's available 24 hours a day, 406-542-2233. You can also visit rmcattorneys.com. Ryan and Miller and Coburn, your Montana attorneys. Let's hear from RMC right now. So tell me about just the behind the scenes for the firm expansion from just a branding and promotions standpoint.
Yeah, so I love the branding aspect of the business. That is something that, I don't know why, but it's like my little creativity outlet. And so when we were looking at doing the rebrand, we had our diamonds and we wanted to kind of update those to incorporate, where we were going. And so we talked about it. And one of the big things that drives us is that we are that link from our clients to justice, that we, get them to justice that they deserve. And so that's kind of where those 3 diamonds came into play, and that inner link to represent us connecting our clients to justice. And it really hits home for us.
You had to expect, too, that South Dakota State would really key on him after he had so many catches against Oregon. Oregon kind of didn't key on anybody because they didn't need to. But Dowler has 12 catches, like 107 yards. So then you knew South Dakota State was going to say, okay, we're going to stop that guy. And I thought the story of that game, because it was sloppy. I think the reason it was so sloppy is because I thought both offensive lines got their asses kicked. I thought both defensive lines made it rain, man. I thought they both played so well, and I thought the offensive lines were really struggling. Being on the sidelines was crazy, man. A couple of those South Dakota State guys they wanted to tap out big time, and I'm sure it was the same on the Bobcat side too, man. Because those South Dakota State D linemen were menacing as well.
Who's number 45 for the Cats?
Number 45, Hunter Parsons. He's
oh my goodness.
Yeah, he's good, man. He's been waiting his turn. He's a Nevada guy. He's been in the program. I've always liked him. Every spring ball I come out of there, and like I've always have 10 or 12 guys that popped. He's been one for years, man.
He is a dog.
He just happened to be sitting behind Greeby and Iden and stuff, but now it's his turn. And I Vegan said that was his best game, and I think that really showed up on film. He looked really good for sure.
And then 34 is another player who popped out to me. I mean, their backer.
Thank you. Amen. Thank you. Dude, I'm telling you, Neil Daly's a good player, and he got hurt against Oregon. But Cole Taylor came in. I thought he was a revelation. I thought he looked like their best dude. 34 did against.
He looked amazing.
He looked great against South Dakota State, man. Like,
amazing.
He throws it around. He gets his nose in there. He's fearless. He's huge. I mean, he's like 6'3", 230. He's a converted quarterback. He's still finding his way, but I think his potential is huge because I think
very impressed.
I mean, he can run. He can hit. He's got all the intangibles for sure. All right, here's our Big Sky slate. Northern Colorado plays South Dakota. Montana hosts North Dakota. San Diego's in Bozeman to take on Montana State. Idaho gets Utah Tech this week. Eastern Washington plays at Northern Iowa. Weber State plays at McNeese. Western Oregon plays Cal Poly. Northern Arizona, Southern Utah has their battle for the Grand Canyon Trophy. That used to be a league game now, and it will be again next year. But that one's a little bit of a rivalry in Cedar City. Mercyhurst plays Sac State. And Portland State gets to go on a plane for 1,000,000 hours and play at Hawaii. Any game that's not the Montana schools excites you, or which game are you going to have on your radar other than Montana State this week?
I will be keyed into just because I'm interested in the Northern Colorado. You said Northern Colorado, South Dakota.
Yeah, that's interesting. I think that's interesting. Yeah,
it's interesting. Like, South Dakota seems to be a little down this year. Northern Colorado seems to be a little up this year. Like, can they make it interesting? They just made it interesting against Colorado State. I think we could see an upset there. Idaho, Utah Tech also is interesting. One, because I'm still interested to see if Joshua can be consistent, but also Utah Tech. I mean, we saw them take UC Davis to the brink. Can they do the same for Idaho? Can they beat Idaho? Something I'm interested in. And then the third one, I'm interested in NAU Southern Utah as well, because I know Southern Utah is, I don't think, as good as they were last year, but they're still a formidable opponent. So where is NAU at? I want to see where they're at against the Southern Utah team. And then lastly, Sac State obviously has not got their first victory. They lost against South Dakota State. They lost against Nevada, played a really close game. I think they looked much better against Nevada than they did against South Dakota State, but still a long ways to go in my opinion. Mercyhurst is better, I think, this season. They've been pushing some teams. I want to see if Sac State can get their first victory. Who runs out there? I know Rashada got hurt, and that's why Cardell Williams came in. But I am of the belief that the offense looked significantly better with Cardell Williams in there than it did with Rashada. So do they stick with Cardell Williams? Do they go with Rashada? And do they get their first victory? I mean, there's been a lot of people on their head. There's been a lot of noise at Sac State. We all know. Will they get in that win column this week?
Yeah, I think for me, the Big Sky comes down to this week. Everybody's just got to take care of business. Like Portland State has uphill sledding at Hawaii, but I think that everybody else has games that should be at least competitive, if not winnable. Northern Colorado's facing an uphill battle a little bit at South Dakota too, but everybody else should either win or be very competitive. So it could be a week where we see a lot of Big Sky teams get in the win column. I think that's probably my biggest expectation. Samuel Akem on the Big Sky Breakdown podcast series. You can also find Akem's analysis on the Big Sky Breakdown podcast series, and you can find him on his YouTube channel as well. Go subscribe to that and keep on following along here at SkylineSportsMT.com. Thanks for being here, man.
Yeah, appreciate you.